At school, she always sat at the front, answering questions with confidence, even as her shoes flapped from wear and her uniform bore the battle scars of many washings. Teachers often whispered among themselves, "This girl is destined for greatness," though they knew destiny alone was rarely enough in a place where survival came first. After finishing secondary school, while many waited for miracles, Sarah took fate by the hand. With a borrowed plastic chair and an old pair of scissors, she began braiding hair under the shade of a large mango tree at the edge of her street. Word spread like fire in Harmattan. Women came not just for her gifted fingers, but for the warmth in her smile and the way she listened. Like each woman's story mattered. Her little outdoor salon became a sanctuary of sorts. Customers laughed, cried, and healed in her presence. At home, she lived with her parents and 2 younger siblings in a one-room house that constantly smelled of boiled corn, pepper soup, and unconditional love. Her mother sold tomatoes and ugu leaves in the market, and her father, ever skeptical and gruff, was a welder whose palms were as hard as his opinions. Life was tough, but somehow Sarah made sure her family never went to bed hopeless. Then came one blazing afternoon. The sky shimmered with heat. Sarah was weaving intricate braids on a customer she knew well, Miss Elizabeth, an elegant woman known for her poise, designer handbags, and whispered stories of overseas trips. Sarah had styled her hair a few times, but today felt different. Each braid flowed like silk through her fingers. She was in a zone, lost in focus, unaware that her life was about to twist like the very strands she was braiding. As Sarah tied the last knot, Miss Elizabeth looked into the handheld mirror, then turned and smiled at her. "You're exceptionally gifted," she said, gently patting her fresh braids. "Tell me, have you ever considered working abroad?" Sarah blinked in confusion. "Abroad? Ma?" "Yes." The woman nodded. "I want to sponsor you. Get you a job in one of the top salons in America. You'll make real money, enough to change your life." For a moment, everything stopped. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Was this a joke? Her legs felt weak. "Ma, are you serious?" she managed to ask. "I don't joke with destiny," Miss Elizabeth said, her voice soft but certain. Tears sprang to Sarah's eyes as she dropped to her knees in gratitude. "God bless you, Ma. Thank you. I'd love that. I really would." That evening, she ran home like a girl who had found gold. Her mother screamed in joy and wept, holding her tightly while shouting, "Oluwa-oo!" over and over. Her younger siblings jumped with excitement, not understanding the full weight of what was happening, but her father remained seated, arms folded across his chest. "Are you sure she's not a scammer? Or a ritualist?" he said with a frown. "No, Daddy. She's real. I've known her for years. She has helped bring customers to me." Still, he didn't look convinced, but something had already sparked inside Sarah, something bigger than fear. For the first time, she saw her path clearly, and, though it was paved with uncertainty, she was ready. The weeks that followed were a blur of documentation. Sarah didn't even own a passport, but Miss Elizabeth handled everything. Passport, visa, travel ticket, even a new set of clothes for her journey. Whispers flew around the town. Some praised her luck, others warned of the dangers of trusting rich women with big promises. Sarah ignored them all. Her faith was bigger than the noise. Before her departure, Miss Elizabeth came to meet Sarah's family. It was her way of showing respect. Sarah's mother served her jollof rice and chilled malt, hands trembling. Her father watched quietly from the corner of the room. "I saw how hard-working your daughter is," Miss Elizabeth began. "She has something rare, and I want to give her a chance." She explained that Sarah would live with a friend of hers in the US, a woman who owned a reputable salon. "She will be safe. She will thrive," she promised. Sarah's father said nothing at first. Then, with a sigh and a slow nod, he mumbled, "Just make sure she doesn't forget who she is." The day of departure came with a sky as grey as smoke and hearts as heavy as stone. Sarah's mother clung to her at the motor park, whispering prayers through her tears. Her siblings wept, holding her arms like they could stop the future. Her father stood silently until Sarah turned to board the bus. "Sarah," he called softly. She turned, just once. "Don't forget who you are." The flight was long, filled with anxiety and silence. As the airplane ascended, Sarah sat rigid, her thoughts a whirlwind. What if she failed? What if this was a trap? But when she landed, the cold kiss of foreign air hit her face, and the city skyline stretched ahead like a painting of possibilities. Miss Elizabeth's friend, Miss Lauren, a tall, serious woman with firm eyes, was waiting at the airport. "You start work tomorrow," she said. "We take work seriously here. Can you handle it?" "Yes, Ma," Sarah replied, her voice steady. Despite the storm in her chest, the salon was a palace of mirrors, lights, and demanding clients with complex styles. But Sarah adapted. She learned quickly, remained respectful, and poured every ounce of herself into her work. Miss Lauren noticed. Within months, Sarah became one of the salon's rising stars. She began sending money home, small at first, then bigger as her earnings grew. She paid her brother's school fees, rebuilt her mother's stall after a fire, and helped her father expand his welding tools. He never said much over the phone, just, "I got it," before hanging up. But he always picked up when she called. That was enough for Sarah. She sacrificed daily, eating plain noodles, walking in winter cold, but her heart was full. And eventually, she began to dream bigger. She didn't just want to work in a salon. She wanted to own one. After years of relentless saving, she finally opened her own space in Atlanta. A small salon tucked into a quiet block. It wasn't large, but it was hers. The first day she unlocked the door and stepped in, she dropped to her knees and cried. No man helped her. No shortcuts, just God and grit. Soon, her salon was thriving. Word spread. People came asking for the Nigerian girl with the magic hands. Then came Smith. They met online. He was charming, with soft words and bold dreams. Based in Nigeria, he claimed to be a businessman building a future. Sarah, always the giver, found herself yearning for love too. She began sending him money, first. For little things, his sick mother, his car battery, then bigger ones, land, house construction, furniture. "When you return," he said, "our home will be waiting." Blinded by love, she gave freely. After all, hadn't she helped her whole family? Didn't she deserve happiness too? One day, she received a Facebook message. It was from Rose, an old friend from back home. "Sarah, I hate to bother you, but it's my final year and I don't have enough to pay my school fees. I don't know who else to ask." Without hesitation, Sarah replied, "Send your account number." She sent more than needed. Rose was speechless. "You've always been kind. I'll never forget this." And she didn't. That moment would carry more weight than Sarah ever imagined. Back in Nigeria, her family's life blossomed. Her father now ran a small but busy welding shop, thanks to Sarah's unending support. Her siblings were doing well. In school. Her mother's stall became one of the most popular in the market, but all Sarah could think of was home. And Smith. It had been 10 years since she left. She didn't tell anyone. She booked a flight in secret. She wanted to surprise the man she loved. As the plane landed in Lagos, her heart pounded in her chest like a talking drum. She was home, but what awaited her would test everything. Sarah hadn't told a single soul. Not family, not friends, and certainly not Smith, formerly known as John, back when everything was sweeter. Her return wasn't just for reunion, it was for the truth. The raw kind. The kind that could either heal a heart or shatter it all over again. She stepped off the plane at Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos. No chauffeur, no crowd, just her and her thoughts. She didn't even stop to catch her breath. From the airport, she took a cab straight to the address he had once sent her. The place he swore was the house they built together. The car pulled up in front of a sleek white gate. Modern design, clean tiles, sharp finish. Everything screamed success. Sarah's heart fluttered with both hope and fear. Maybe, just maybe, Smith had been telling the truth. Maybe he had truly been planning their future. She knocked. No answer. With trembling fingers, she pushed open the gate and walked in, heart thudding like a talking drum. And there he was, Smith, standing in the doorway, wide-eyed like a goat caught in a trap. "Sarah?" he said, almost choking on her name. "What are you doing here?" "I wanted to surprise you," she said softly, eyes scanning his unreadable expression. Her heart ached for clarity. He blinked, then stuttered, "Of course. I wasn't expecting—" "Wait, let me get you a hotel so you can rest." She froze. "Hotel? Smith, why would I stay in a hotel? Isn't this our house?" Before he could respond, the front door creaked again, and out stepped a young woman, pregnant, barefoot, with her hand resting gently on her swollen belly. "Who is she, Smith?" the woman asked coldly. Her brows narrowed as her eyes locked on Sarah. Sarah's world cracked like dry harmattan ground. Her gaze turned sharply to Smith. "Who is she, Smith?" He froze. Sweat glistened on his forehead. I can explain. You told me you were single. You told me this was our house." Sarah's voice trembled. "You took my money." The woman quietly stepped back, muttering under her breath. Sarah didn't wait for the rest. Her legs moved on their own, dragging her away from the gate, away from the man who built dreams on her sweat. She flagged down a kika and disappeared. into Lagos traffic, her hands shaking like a rain-drenched umbrella. That night, she booked the cheapest hotel she could find and collapsed on the musty mattress. 10 years of loyalty, 10 years of building dreams, of sending dollars home monthly, of sacrificing sleep to provide. Now dust in the wind. As she stared at the cracked ceiling, something snapped. Maybe it was the pain, or maybe it was the silence. She decided she would test them all. Her family, her friends, everyone. She would hide the truth, pretend to be broke, pretend she was deported. Let them see her without money, without cars, without power. And then, she'd know who loved Sarah, the woman. Not Sarah, the provider. She dialed home with a trembling thumb. "Daddy, I'm back in Nigeria. Can you come pick me?" Clad in second-hand clothes, her once elegant hair wrapped in an old scarf, Sarah stood by the roadside in Ajegunle, clutching a faded duffel bag. Her transformation was complete. From a boss to a beggar. A rusty Corolla pulled up. Her father stepped out, brows furrowed. "Sarah?" She nodded slowly. "It's me, Daddy." Without a word, he opened the door. The ride home was quiet, tense, like a funeral drive. At home, her mother rushed out, then stopped short at the sight of her. Jesu, Sarah, what happened?" Inside, Sarah sat, hands trembling. "I was deported," she whispered. "Accused of a crime I didn't commit. Everything is gone." Her mother began to cry. Her father just paced, jaw tight. "You mean you didn't bring anything back?" he asked finally. "Nothing." Later that evening, her younger brother came home. He froze in the doorway. "Is this really you? I thought you'd come back with Prado Jeeps and Versace bags." Sarah forced a brittle smile. Life happened. The days that followed were cold. Her father barely spoke. Her brothers gossiped behind closed doors. Only her mother offered warmth, cooking quietly and sliding her plate without words. But the cheerfulness that once filled the house when her bank alerts hit their phones, gone like dry season breeze. 1 week later, her father finally sat across from her. "So, what's your plan now?" "I don't know yet. I just need time. You've been here too long. I can't have a grown woman sitting around like a log. 1 more week, then you leave." Sarah's lips quivered. "Daddy, I bought this house." He laughed bitterly. "You think you're the only one who hustled? I built my business with sweat. Besides, you sent money, yes, but that's past." Even her brothers whispered cruel things. "Auntie Sarah too stingy," one said. "Now she's broke and wants to chop our food." On her final day, her father tossed her bag outside. "You can't stay here crying. I know cause your deportation. Only." Her mother dared come close. She pressed N300,000 into Sarah's palm. "If I had say in this house, you'd stay. Please don't hate me, my daughter." Tears slipped down Sarah's cheeks. "Thank you, Mama." And just like that, she walked away. From the house she paid for, the family she carried for a decade, the people who now treated her like an infection. Dragging her bag along the roadside, her soul heavier than her steps, Sarah questioned everything. Was I just a wallet to them? Did they ever love me? Or only what I gave? She stopped near a rundown hotel, ready to spend the night in tears, when a familiar voice called her name. "Sarah?" She turned. It was Rose, the same girl she helped with university fees years ago. The one who had sent a Facebook message crying with gratitude. Now standing on the street in flip-flops, holding a plastic bag of groceries. "Sarah!" Rose rushed forward and hugged her. Right there on the street, Sarah collapsed into her friend's arms. Years of betrayal, heartbreak, and silence poured out as tears. Rose didn't flinch. "Come," she whispered. "Come home with me." They walked through dusty streets, past rows of wooden stalls and neighborhood chatter, until they reached a modest bungalow with peeling paint and creaky windows. The scent of fried plantain welcomed them like an old hymn. "This is Sarah," Rose told her parents. "The woman who paid my final year fees, the reason I graduated." Her mother gasped. We've prayed for you, even though we never met you." That night, they shared a simple meal. Yam, pepper stew, 1 shared cup of water. But laughter danced through the house. For the first time in weeks, Sarah felt whole. In the weeks that followed, Sarah stayed on a mat beside Rose. They went to the salon together. Rose had become a hairdresser too, just like her. Business was slow, but their joy was full. One evening, as the sun set behind the zinc rooftops, Sarah turned to her. "You never asked for anything. Why?" Rose smiled. "Because when someone helped you from their heart, you don't repay with demands. You pay it forward." Sarah looked at her with wide, tear-filled eyes. "That means more than you'll ever know." Rose shrugged. "I think I know." That night, Sarah realized, home isn't blood. Home isn't bricks. Home is where hearts open without condition. One morning, Sarah woke with peace in her chest. She had seen what she needed to see. The ones who turned their backs when they thought she had nothing failed, but one girl passed. Now it was time to tell the truth. That afternoon, Sarah invited Rose and her parents on a drive. Wearing the same ragged clothes, she hired a clean car and said nothing. "Where are we going?" Rose asked. "You'll see," Sarah said, a smile playing on her lips. She took them to the very mansion Smith had claimed as his. What happened next changed everything. The man I once trusted stole my money and fed me lies, but I took it back. This house, this very house I once thought was built with love and family, now belongs to me. And today, I'm giving it to you." Rose's parents looked at each other, stunned into silence. Her mother's hands trembled as she clasped her wrapper tighter. Her father, a once proud man, now sat speechless on the veranda steps, his lips parted, but no words escaping. "But why?" Rose whispered, her voice shaking, eyes brimming with tears. Sarah smiled gently, her voice steady. "Because you loved me when I had nothing. When the world turned its back, you opened your door and fed me from your small kitchen. I needed to know who would love me if I had nothing left. My own family failed. Smith betrayed me, but you stood by me. You didn't wait for me to ask, you just showed up." Rose couldn't hold it in anymore. She broke down in tears and hugged Sarah so tightly as though letting go might break the bond between them. "I didn't do it expecting anything," Rose sobbed. "I swear, I just couldn't bear to see you suffer." Sarah gently stroked her back. "I know," she whispered. "That's exactly why you're the only one who deserves everything." Rose's parents dropped to their knees on the tiled floor of the porch, their voices rising in Yoruba prayer. "Oluwa, Agibi Sarah. May your name never be dragged through the dust. May your cup overflow and never run dry." Sarah couldn't help it. She wept with them, not from pain, but from deep release. Then, taking Rose's hand, she said, "I didn't come back to Nigeria broke. I came back to rebuild something greater. I want you to be part of it. Come with me to the United States. Let's build a real future, together." Rose stared at her in disbelief. "You mean it?" Sarah's eyes glistened. "I've never meant anything more." As the sun dipped low behind the familiar whitewashed walls of the house that once symbolized betrayal, it now stood tall with a new meaning: redemption, sisterhood, and the kind of love that's forged through storms. Weeks passed, and Sarah moved with quiet purpose. She had money, she had influence, and more importantly, she had peace. But one thing lingered, like a song that wouldn't end: closure. So one morning, dressed in a rich Ankara gown with regal confidence, she got into a black SUV and returned to the house she had once bought for her parents, the very house her father had thrown her out of. This time, she didn't hide. No disguises, no hesitation. Her father's once booming import business had crumbled. He had invested everything into a Ponzi scheme disguised as a foreign partnership, promising to triple his capital. It was a lie. The fake company vanished, the phone lines went dead, and so did his pride. Now the bank was knocking on the door, preparing to seize the property. Inside, her mother sat weeping in her wrapper. The stress had carved deep lines into her once youthful face. Her brothers, once cocky and full of swagger, now sat like ghosts of themselves, bitter and empty. And her father? He was slumped in his armchair, pale, coughing, defeated. The moment Sarah stepped in, the room froze. You could hear a pin drop. "Sarah!" her mother gasped, rushing forward. "Ah, thank God, oh! Please help us! The bank! They want to take—" "The house," her father coughed, unable to meet her eyes. Her eldest brother shifted awkwardly. "They said we have 1 week," her mother continued. "After that, we lose everything." Sarah looked around slowly. Her eyes passed over the sofa she bought, the dining table she paid for, the family portraits she had framed. The walls seemed to echo every moment she had been taken for granted. She sat down gently, hands folded. "Let me tell you something," she said, her voice calm but sharp, like a Lagos tailor's scissors. "I was never deported. I lied." Gasps. Even her brothers looked up. "I lied," she repeated, her gaze locking onto her father, "because I needed to see the truth, to know who loved me for me, not for what I gave." "You lied?" her mother choked out. "Yes," Sarah said flatly. "And the moment I stopped giving, you all gave me the street. After everything I did, I built this house. I sent you money for food, for comfort. I paid school fees. I bled for this family. And the one time I asked for a place to lay my head, you threw me out like a stray dog." Her father opened his mouth to speak, but nothing came out. Her mother sobbed uncontrollably. "We were afraid. We didn't know how to help." "No, Mama," Sarah replied coldly. "You didn't want to help me. You wanted what I could provide. That's not love. That's convenience." The room was silent. You could hear the ceiling fan whirring. Then she reached into her leather bag and placed a white envelope on the center table. "Here, enough to pay off the loan and keep the house. And something extra for you, Mama. But after this, please, unless you remember who I am, not what I can give, don't call me again." Her mother fell to her knees, grabbing her daughter's leg. "I'm sorry. We failed you. Ah, Sarah, forgive us." Her brothers sat with bowed heads. Her father finally looked up, tears in his eyes. "You were always the strongest. We just couldn't see it." Sarah stood, her chin high. "I have people who treat me like family, even without blood, and I'm going to build with them now." And this time she walked out with her head held high, and nobody dared stop her. At the airport, Murtala Muhammad International buzzed with travelers. Announcements, luggage carts, children crying, but Sarah stood still, calm, her suitcase by her feet, and Rose beside her. Rose clutched her passport like treasure. Her hands trembled slightly. "I still can't believe this is happening," she whispered. Sarah turned to her, smiling. "Believe it, you earned this a long time ago." A few weeks earlier, Sarah had used her connections and resources to quietly secure Rose's visa, paperwork, and travel sponsorship, just like Miss Elizabeth once did for her. "I never even dreamed of going abroad," Rose said. "You didn't need to dream," Sarah replied. "You already had the heart. That's more than most people." Behind them, the city of Lagos slowly faded, familiar and vibrant, but filled with hard lessons. John had been arrested. Sarah's court case against him had gone viral. Thousands of Nigerian women flooded her social media, thanking her for standing up for truth. But Sarah didn't care for the applause. She had done it for herself, and for every woman who had ever given her all and gotten betrayal in return. Her family. After she paid off the bank, she vanished from their lives, the same way they had vanished from hers. She didn't hate them anymore. She just let them go. Sometimes her mother still called, but Sarah rarely picked up. She wasn't angry, just done. She had mourned them. Now she was healing, living. The boarding gate opened. As they walked forward, Rose glanced at her. "Sarah, how did you become so strong?" Sarah's eyes sparkled. "By being broken again and again, but never staying shattered." Back in the US, everything moved fast. Sarah expanded her salon into a full franchise. She opened 2 new branches within a year. But she didn't bring Rose on as an assistant. No, she brought her in as a full business partner. Rose worked hard, learned fast, and showed the same fire that Sarah once had. Together, they didn't just build a business, they built a sisterhood. One day, they stood in their newest salon. It was glowing, sleek interiors, gold-accented walls, and a giant logo above the mirror. Paig Beauty. Sarah plus Rose. Strength in sisterhood. Sarah stood still, eyes misty. Not just her name anymore. The future was shared. That night, as they walked home in the soft California breeze, Sarah looked up at the stars and whispered a prayer. Not for more money, not for fame, but for more moments like this. Moments where her soul felt light. Moments where her pain made sense. She was no longer the girl who braided hair under a mango tree in Abeokuta. She was the woman who turned her scars into stepping stones and who taught others to believe they could rise too. That was the real reward.